So I'm super excited to share with you some really powerful tools that are going to help you to change the way that you approach your cello playing forever. But first, I want to make sure that if you're new to me and new to my sessions, that you're in the right place. This workshop is for cellists who want to improve every aspect of your left hand technique. And we're going to be doing some really cool stuff later with our left hand, who want to feel more confident and inspired in your practice routines, who want to gain practical tools that you can use to increase your facility in the left hand and also your musical expression on the cello. This workshop is not for you if you're a person who's not open to new ideas and you're not willing to invest a little bit of time into your cello playing. What we're going to discover today are 3 powerful methods to help you with your left hand technique. The first method is the very best way to improve your intonation and your sense of pitch so that you can always feel confident knowing that you're playing the right notes. For some of us, we struggle to know whether we're playing the right note or the wrong notes. And this is going to give you a tool that you can use to always feel confident that you're playing in tune and with a good sense of pitch. Method number 2 is going to be the exact steps. So I'm going to give you a method and we're going to work through this together. The exact steps to shift effortlessly on your cello so that you can confidently land even the most challenging of shifts. And you might find that this is so much fun that you're going to want to do it all day. And method 3 is going to be the fastest way to gain a total understanding of your fingerboard, because I know a lot of cellists struggle with fingerboard geography, understanding where to go, fingerings, that type of thing, so that you're never going to have to guess where you're going on your fingerboard ever again. And you might find that this method is going to surprise you. It's not a common method. It's not something that's taught very much. Method number 3 is the most surprising and effective information I have to share with you, so be sure to stick around to hear it. So before we dive in, as with all of my cello yoga sessions, some of you are in my classes and know this already, but let's get centered in our bodies. Science shows us that when our minds are centered and calm, then we can learn much better. So we're going to just take a moment. And what I'd like you to do is sit in your chair, nice and comfortable, as if you were going to play the cello. And we're going to close our eyes, take a nice deep breath in, roll your shoulders back, and just let that breath out through your nose nice and slowly. One more time, breathing in through your nose, roll your shoulders back, and let that breath out through your mouth. One more time, you're going to breathe in through your nose, feeling your feet grounded on the floor, feeling your hips grounded on your chair, breathing in, and then just let it go. Just take a moment to arrive here. A lot of us are coming from busy days and busy schedules. So we want to get really focused that we can really observe and absorb the learning that we're going to learn today. So here's just a few questions you can ask yourself before we get started. And I want to make sure that we really take a moment to think about this. Is there anything that you need to do before we get into the session? This is going to be about a 90-minute session, maybe a little bit longer. We'll take a little break, but make sure that you have everything you need to be comfortable. So you might want to get yourself some water. You want to make sure that the volume is okay, that you can see me clearly. So this works best if you're on a laptop. If you're on a tablet or a phone, that's fine. But if you can see me clearly, that's really great. And you want to make sure you have a pen and paper so that you can take some notes and have everything that you need to play your cello. So just take a second to make sure that you have all of those things. And then we're going to continue. So before we go on, I want to share some kind words that a cellist shared with me about this workshop. I was so touched by what they had to say that I just want to share these words so that you can understand how powerful these workshops can be if you commit to implementing the strategies and methods that we're going to discuss. So I want to share 2 stories from people. So this is Linda, who came to my last workshop. She wrote to me just a few weeks after my last workshop last month. And she said, I absolutely needed the concepts that you introduced in today's workshop. My uncertainty of what next has disappeared in a day. You promised more confidence and you delivered, and I will continue to follow the information that you offer. And then Francois wrote to me, this was a few months ago, to tell me, Mia, I have to tell you the truth. I was so inspired and motivated ever since I participated in your workshop. The focus and determination in my own playing is completely renewed. And so, my goal for you today is that by the end of this workshop, you're going to feel exactly the same way as Linda and Francois. And my promise is that this information will help you to become a better cello player, but it's only going to work if you implement these methods exactly how I'm going to show you. So it's really important that you focus, listen, close those tabs, close the door, kick your husband out of the room or wherever he is, and listen carefully. So this workshop is going to be a little bit different from workshops you might have been to in the past. The information that you're going to hear is backed by scientific research. So I've looked into these methods in music education, performance psychology, as well as my years of experience working with adult cello players like you of all levels. And as well as being a professional cellist, I'm also a trained therapeutic yoga instructor. So you can be sure that you can trust these mind and body tools that I'm going to share with you. We're going to explore techniques that have been proven to help cello players integrate skills faster and more effectively than with traditional cello lessons, traditional methods, or just trying to teach yourself. So just so that you know that I'm serious about getting you these kinds of results, I have a special gift for everybody who stays to the end of this workshop. So everybody who comes today is going to get this popular PDF guide called 6 Ways to Play Cello with Less Tension and More Focus. And this guide is just full of my best tips for playing with relaxed confidence, getting around the cello in a way that makes you feel really good and makes you sound really good. And you're going to have some more bonuses as well. So if you stick around to the Q&A, you're going to be eligible to receive a free group coaching session with my cello yoga program. I know many of you are already in that program, but if you are not, and you're also going to get a special offer for one of my most popular programs. So make sure to stick around so that you can hear those details. So I don't want to bore you with too many details about me, but so that you know, if you don't know me and you've never seen me before, just so that you can trust this information, let me tell you a little bit about myself and my background. So I'm an award-winning recording artist, and I've played as a soloist and ensemble musician in classical, folk, metal, pop, rock, and jazz ensembles. So I'm a multifaceted cellist, and I improvise and I play classical music as well. I have a cello performance degree from the University of Toronto, which is the sister school to Juilliard in Canada. And I have teaching certification from the Royal Conservatory of Music and the Suzuki Association of the Americas. I'm also a certified therapeutic yoga instructor, and that informs my coaching for cellists. And I'm currently starting to pursue a master's in counseling psychology. So all of those things together kind of create the cello yoga approach that you're going to hear today. I've also attended hundreds of hours of cello masterclasses, spent thousands of dollars being coached by some of the world's top cello players. In particular, this guy, my favorite guy, and I got to work with him when I was at the University of Toronto, amazing cellist and an amazing person. And of course, all of these talented cellists that I've worked with. This is just a few of the mentors that I've had. I always encourage amateur cellists to work with as many cello professionals as you can because they all have something to give. And it's really good to have that perspective. In the last few years, I've been leading a thriving online cello community of hundreds of adult cellists and educators in groups who are dedicated to finding more mindful and joyful ways to play the cello, designed to meet the specific needs of adult cello players. So that's what I specialize in, is working with adults, and it is quite different to working with children. And I really enjoy that process, and I love learning from you guys. And here are some of my cello yogis that I work with currently. Some of you might recognize your face in this picture. This is from one of our workshops last year. And we have an amazing time every week. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that program later. But for now, let me share with you the story of how I got to where I am, because this story is going to help you to understand maybe a little bit about your own journey and where you can go with your own playing. So my journey to where I am now hasn't always been easy. I'm sure some of you have seen this picture of the man carrying his cello up the mountainside. And I can tell you that sometimes that's what cello playing feels like, that you're carrying the cello on your back and trying to get up the side of a mountain. I'm quite impressed that this guy looks actually pretty happy. to be doing this. And I wonder if maybe he was just a couple of feet off the ground, but we can't see the ground. I'm not quite sure. But that's how it feels sometimes and how it has felt for me in my cello journey. So I totally understand that feeling. I struggled with technique, tension, lack of confidence for many years before I found these methods that I'm going to share with you. As a music student, I didn't get into my first university of choice because my lack of strong technical foundation, the tension in my playing, and my nerves sabotaged my auditions. And maybe a little bit of karaoke the night before, too. And in my first year of music school, I suffered a tension injury in my left hand, and I had to sit out of rehearsals for the majority of the first semester. So it wasn't a good start for my music career. And my challenges as a musician just kept piling up. In my second year, I had a baby, and I went from having the regular 4 to 6 hours a day to practice, which was normal for music students at that time, to basically no time. I might squeeze in 1 or 2 hours if I was lucky. So I had this potentially career killing combo for any musician. I lacked a solid technical foundation needed to improve my skills, and I had very little time to dedicate to practice. And maybe some of you can relate to that, feeling like you started late, you don't have a lot of time to practice, and it feels like just this large mountain to climb. So I understand that feeling. Even though I've been playing cello for many years, I understand that feeling of, oh my gosh, I have so much catching up to do. So, as a new mother, I was full of self doubt and anxiety, and I knew that I had to change something, or I would probably have to quit playing the instrument that I loved. So, I began a journey to find the most effective methods to progress quickly and sound better. And the methods that I discovered completely changed the way that I practice. And to be honest, they completely changed my life in general. And once I began to share these methods with some of my students, they started to have these amazing results as well. In particular, my adult students were really resonating with some of these methods. So, this is one of my success stories, my student Christy. And she came to me, she wanted to improve her technical and improvisation skills so that she could confidently play with others at a string camp. And as you can see from the picture, there she is in the middle, and she's just having a ball playing with other adults at an adult string camp and just feeling really confident and good. And this is Andrew, who almost became a professional cellist, but whose life went in a different direction. And he came back to me after 20 years of not playing the cello, and he wanted help with tension and developing a positive practice mindset. And what he told me was that practicing has been so much more fun since our sessions together. And this is Claudia, who's here today. And Claudia, I'm going to share your testimony. Claudia came to me in retirement wanting to learn skills that respected her body as an older adult. And that's many of you today are older adults. And she said, I love our sessions. You've given me so much confidence, which has increased my enjoyment of playing. And thank you, Claudia, for letting me use your testimony. So in fact, our results have been really quite amazing that our VIP membership program has grown to dozens of cellists. And we've recently hired an awesome new coach because we haven't been able to help all of the cellists with just me. So that's really great. Our school is growing. So how did I go from being a mediocre music student, just had a baby, technically not very good, not sounding really great, to playing with world-class performance and sharing my methods with hundreds of cellists and educators each year? Let me tell you how I did it. So in my third year of music school, my professor told me that she thought I should not return for my final year of school. So this was pretty much a crisis. She didn't have the confidence that I, with my 1 or 2 hours of time to practice a day, that I had what it took to succeed. So at that point, I knew I had to change something or I might have to give up this career. So I sat down and I wrote out what I wanted my future with the cello to look like. This, I didn't realize at the time, but this was the first step towards embracing a mind and body approach to learning. And this one action that I took, sitting down and writing out my future, had really powerful consequences. I learned later as a yogi that intentionally writing down what you want to happen in the future is a process called visualization. And it's actually one of the most powerful and most underused methods to improve your skills. This process is different to the idea of just daydreaming, because a lot of us sit around and think about the wonderful things we're going to do in the future. But a visualization is focused and intentional. So once you have a vision of the future, you can actively work towards it by achieving it in small little steps. So we're going to do this exercise together. What I'd like you to do, I want you to just close your eyes. Again, roll back your shoulders, and we're going to think of ourselves in the future playing the cello. And you're playing the cello at your very best. You feel great. You're in a place that you love. You feel very confident. You have this deep sense of control and mastery over your instrument. You're creating this beautiful, expressive sound. You are pain and tension free. So, playing the cello is just the easiest thing in the world. You have a total understanding of your fingerboard and the mechanics of the instrument, and you're effortlessly moving around your instrument. And one of the big things that really helped me to become a better cellist and kind of get through and have that breakthrough was saying to myself, I am my best teacher. I am my own best teacher. I know what's best for me. No other teacher knows what's best for me. So you want to say that to yourself because that is the key to your confidence. So once I imagined this and wrote it down and visualized it and thought about it, I committed to accomplishing my goals in 1 year. And guess what happened? I reached and surpassed all of these goals. So here I am on the radio during my first cross Canada tour after I released a independent album of original cello music, and this was 1 year after I graduated. So yes, I did graduate. I did not quit. I went back. I finished my degree. And the album went on to be nominated for a Toronto Independent Music Award, not Aware Award. And I later wrote 3 more grant-winning albums. And this is me playing a Vivaldi concerto with a professional orchestra at the end of my degree. And my goodness, I look so young there. That was like 20 years ago now. And since then, I've been hired to play with world-class bands, filmmakers, orchestras, musicians of all genres, and I've become a successful teaching artist. And that is my main passion right now, is teaching. So here I am in various ensembles. With the right mindset, I believe these methods can work for any cellist. I don't think you need to have played since you were 5 years old for this stuff to work for you in a short period of time. You need to do this though. What you need to do is be ready to let go of old ways that haven't really been working or giving you slow progress, and be ready to embrace a very new, kind of fresh way of thinking about cello playing. So are you excited? If you are, can you let me know in the chat if you're excited to continue and learn these new ways? Let's take a look. Let me know that you're excited. Look at all these comments. Yes, double stops, Maria. Yes, okay, awesome. Hooray, okay. So let's get to it. It's hard to get this chat out of the way. Keeps getting in my way. Okay, method 1. Method number 1. This is the very best way to improve your intonation and your sense of pitch. And we're going to be doing this together. But first, I'm going to explain this process. Then I'm going to get my cello out and we can do this together. So this is the very best way to improve your intonation and sense of pitch so that you always feel confident that you're playing the right notes. Put in the chat if you sometimes feel like, I'm not really sure that I'm playing in tune. This sounds like it's not quite right, but I'm not quite sure what I need to do to fix this. That could be a real problem at times. And I'll tell you what happened with me and how I went from kind of being meh with my tuning to being pretty accurate most of the time. So like every well-trained classical musician, classical music student, I arrived at university with a plethora of scale and study books. I had been playing scales and studies for years, and perhaps you guys can relate to that. In traditional classical training, students practice scales and studies every day. That's part of the traditional method. You play your scales, you play your studies, you play your pieces, and the theory being if you do all of those things, you're going to come out a player who plays really in tune. But what I quickly learned from attending group masterclasses, and I didn't know this before, I didn't learn this in my private lessons. It was in group masterclasses. I was listening to all of the cellists, professional students, all of these people. There would be like 20 people in a class. And the ones who played with the most flawless sense of pitch were not the students who spent the most time playing studies and scales. That was a total revelation. I met students, I met teachers, and I found out that scales and studies were not what they were doing to improve their pitch. In fact, some of the most masterful cellists, and this is a little bit heretic to say, but some of them never played scales at all, ever. The students who were able to play most in tune had mastered one key skill that is often overlooked or kind of downplayed in classical music training. And I remember from my own training going through the Royal Conservatory of Music, we had a small amount of emphasis on this, but this is actually the most important skill that you need to play in tune. So the method they used is so elemental and so basic and obvious, yet it's the most neglected step in musical practice in both students and professionals. So I want you, when we talk about this, I want you to really think about your own practice and whether you're doing this as much as you should. So top cello players and students and masters of the cello have this unique skill called audiation. And audiation basically is the process of training your mind's ear. So hearing what you want to hear inside your head. Just like this. Here's the music inside someone's head. So audiation is a term. It's actually not a very old term. This term was coined by the music theorist Edmund Gordon. He coined this in 1975 to refer to comprehension and internal realization of music, or the sensation of an individual hearing and feeling sound when it's not physically present, meaning hearing the music you're going to play when you are not at your cello, not with your cello, away from your cello. All the world's best musicians have this highly developed mind's ears that they work on daily as part of their musical practice. It's a big part of top players' practice. A musician with a well-developed mind's ear can hear music before it's played, and not only the notes and rhythm, but also the nuance and the dynamics and the tone and the texture. With this kind of ear, playing in tune becomes so much easier because the mind knows what it needs to hear before it hears it. So then when that sound isn't right, the body reacts automatically and can instantly fix the problem, or close to instantly. The good news is that most of us have a mind's ear and we're in the process of developing it, but we're usually not well trained to use that mind's ear for music. You cannot improve your audiation by opening a scale book and mindlessly learning your finger patterns, or by playing a song over and over in the hopes that it's going to sound better the more times you play it. And I just want to take a moment here in the chat. Who here is guilty of repeating pieces over and over, or parts of your pieces over and over, without actually listening super well? Yes. Yep. It happens. It does happen. We all kind of get in that mindless sort of repetition of whatever we're doing, right? Yeah, it's very, very common. And you know what, guys? This is not your fault. I'm going to tell you whose fault it is in a second. It's not yours. So you can like let go of the guilt, let go of that feeling of, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? Because it is not your fault and there's a way to fix it. So what are we going to do? So you can improve your sense of pitch and intonation by being able to hear with your ears and feel with your body the music before you play it. The fact that you need to hear and feel what you're playing brings us to the number one reason why many of you struggle with this. Most often, the problem is the sheet music in front of you. Most often, the problem is that you have a piece of music. When we learn music from sheet music, right from the start, so you put a new piece of music in front of you and you're looking at it, all of a sudden your sense of seeing, because it's a primary sense and it's very, very primary for most of us, interferes with your hearing and your feeling. And these are the much more important senses for audiation. It's very important that you feel and hear, but if you are seeing at the same time, it blocks. It blocks your ability to do those things. Now, of course, you're thinking, well, I'm not going to play without sheet music. That's ridiculous. And I'm not saying that. But that's why one of the worst things you can do to try to improve your pitch is sit down with a scale book, open it up, practice this scale over and over, learn your finger patterns while looking at the notes. This is a terrible idea. Everyone thinks I'm going to open the scale book and my intonation is magically going to get better, and that's just not true. So, if you can't improve your pitch by looking at sheet music, what should you do? So here's the thing. The most powerful way that I've found that leads to the fastest results is a three-step mindful audiation process. And this can take a little bit of time to get used to. It helps you tap into your mind's ear and play beautifully in tune without looking at the sheet music. At least not at first. So, of course, we're all playing in ensembles and orchestra, and we have pieces we need to learn. I'm not suggesting you memorize every single piece that you play, but there's a process on how to go about this for maximum success. So please know I'm not advocating that you stop using sheet music, only that if you're struggling to play notes on a page in tune, then you need to remove the sheet music from the equation temporarily and do the following steps. So these are the 3 steps to mindful audiation. The first step is to listen repeatedly to what it is you want to play. So people, often teachers will say you need to listen to the music, but I don't think teachers stress enough how much you should be listening to the music that you want to play. And for example, I come from a Suzuki music background. And before Suzuki students ever touch an instrument, they are listening to the Suzuki rep from birth. So by the time they are 3 years old, they know all of those pieces inside out. They are audiating before they even get to the piece. Again, I'm not suggesting that you listen to a piece for 3 years before you try to play it. But the idea is whatever you want to learn to play, you have to be able to hear it first. So you can do this in segments. The second step is to internalize that sound through humming, singing, and tapping. So the tapping is for the rhythm because you want to feel it as well as hearing it. And then you want to repeat this process and refine it as much as possible. So let's go through each of these steps one by one and just really think about what we need to do here. So, mindful audiation step 1, you want to listen repeatedly to a recording of what you're attempting to play in small segments. And as you get better at the skill, you'll be able to listen to longer segments, but at first it might be just one bar. It may be just one note or 2 notes, but at first, very small segments. Some of the world's greatest jazz musicians cannot read sheet music and learned every song that they know by putting a record on repeat over and over and over and over until playing until they could play it. They taught themselves through audiation. You need to be able to remember what you heard and repeat it in your mind. So this is a slow process at first, but it's a really powerful one. Mindful audiation step 1, the more difficult the music you play, the smaller these listening segments should be. And I think that's obvious to everybody. You can't listen to a ton of music and then expect to play it. And you can access recordings of music online, or if you can't access, so let's say you want to play a scale and you can't access it, you can ask your teacher or somebody else who plays the cello to record segments of this music for you. So then you can play along. And you can use a slow down app if you're having trouble grasping the speed, because again, if you're listening to music really fast, that's going to be really hard to grasp. Slow it down. We have incredible technology in the modern era to slow down music so that we can hear it. We have such an advantage over the musicians of past decades. So use that technology. Get yourself a slow down app so you can listen to the music. Step 2, hum or sing a small segment of music. And this is where a lot of people get freaked out because they say, I can't sing. I can't hum. I don't know how to do that and I don't want to, right? But you don't need to be a good singer at all. You do need to be able to express some kind of sound out loud to yourself enough that you can listen for it inside your head. So there's kind of like that loud sound inside your head. You want to be able to access that by singing or humming the music and tapping the rhythm or feeling the rhythm in some way. So tap or clap the rhythm of the music. And if you find that it's difficult to sing and clap the rhythm of the music at the same time, you can separate those 2 tasks until you can put them together. And mindful audiation step 3 is to go to your cello finally after you've done all of that. So if you do listening and audiating and humming, that should take up more time than playing on your cello. You go to your cello, you play the segment without looking at the sheet music. Do not look at the sheet music. So at first, you'll obviously have to listen to the music, figure it out. If you need a guide, you can find your starting note. You want to minimize all distraction in this step. So here's a pro tip that I used in university, was incredible for my tuning. I don't know how many of you have tried this, but try turning off the lights in your practice room and practice in the dark. This is an incredible process that all of a sudden it's like being a blind person. You improve your auditory sense and you improve your kinesthetic sense. So feeling and hearing, which is what we need for music. We don't need to see. So there's nothing to look at. If you can get the idea that there's nothing to look at, that is going to help you improve so much, especially with your intonation. And the third step, if you can't remember what something sounds like when you're learning this way, you need to go back. Go to step 1, go back to step 2 as often as you need to. So here's something to consider, and we've talked already a little bit about this. If you're not used to learning music like this, you're going to find this process slow and frustrating, especially if you are a person who reads music really well. So let's say you're an accomplished musician in other areas and you read music, sheet music really well. You're going to want to skip this step. This is going to feel like you are a baby cellist. Starting at 0, ground 0 again, you're going to feel completely incompetent. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is just to try a little bit of this each day, and like keep a journal for 30 days. Do a little bit of this. In jazz, they call it lifting. You listen to a piece of music, you try to play it. Listen, try to play. And you're going to be amazed how quickly you progress and how much better your ear starts to be. So you're also probably going to notice, as you're listening, you're going to notice other aspects of your sound, and that could be both good and bad, right? But you're going to start hearing things that you weren't hearing before. A final step. This is the final step. You can return to your sheet music once you've been doing this and play while looking at the music. But what you need to do is, while you're looking at the music, you're consciously telling yourself to engage your hearing and your feeling. So it's almost like you're going to have a diffuse sense of what you're seeing, and you're going to take away that really intense desire to like visually grasp onto the music. So we're going to try this together. So I'm going to get my cello. I want you guys to get your cellos. Make you guys big so I can see everyone. Great. Back here. So some of you are going to be at different levels with this skill, basically ear training, playback. But we will just do a simple one to start. Okay. And I will give you the starting note. So there's 3 steps we're going to do. You're going to listen to me play. I'm going to play whatever this is. I'm going to play it 3 times, hopefully. We'll make it up. Hopefully it'll be the same 3 times. Then I'm going to give you a second to hum or sing what you heard, and you can tap out the rhythm as well. And then you're going to try to play it. Okay? So here I am. I'm going to start at open D to give you just a little idea of where we are. This is open D.
Marion, is your original
turn on
sound
your
on?
original sound?
Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. 1 second. Original sound. I do not have original sound. 1 second. It's hard to find with the screen share. I'm just going to stop the share for a second so I can do original sound. Okay. Ah, there it is. Okay, here we go. I'll screen share again. Can you all see me okay? Yeah? Good. So here we go. That's time 1. Start hearing it in your mind's ear. Start singing it as I play. Time number 3. Okay, so step 2 for you is not to play it right away. Sing it or hum it first and tap it like this. Da, da, you can tap on your body because you can feel it. Da, 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 da. Because sometimes with the audiation, we can hear the notes, but we can't feel it. So now you try to play it. So I'll just give you a second. Excellent. So for some of you, that will be easy, easy, easy peasy. And for some of you, that might be challenging. I picked a fairly easy one based on notes going up and down a scale. And starting on D, I just went up the scale, right? D, E, E, F sharp, G, F sharp, E, D. Notice how I'm singing while I play. I do a ton of singing while I play. That also really helps your intonation. Let's try one more. Do a slightly more complex one that doesn't have steps up and down. We're going to do some skipping this time. So again, you're going to listen. I'll start on D again. That's time number 1. Here's time number 2. Time number 3. Now it's your turn to tap it and hum it. Don't play it yet. Okay, now play it. Okay, so we'll come back to that, and if you have questions about that, we'll talk about that later. But that is the idea of audiation, and you can do that with any piece of music that you have to learn or any pattern that you have to learn. A second powerful way to tap into your mind's ear is to practice patterns with the drone. And if you guys have been working with me, those of you who have worked with me in the past will know this method. This method of working with a drone acts to give you a tuning foundation that allows your mind to hone in on one pitch to improve your awareness of other pitches. So playing with a drone, honestly, is probably my number 1 tip for improving your intonation. Do it as much as you can. You can eventually learn lots of patterns to play with it. For now, we're going to do a very simple pattern together. So we're going to try this. Again, we can pick up our cellos. Sorry, some of you put them back down. Let's pick up our cellos again. And we're going to just learn a very simple pentatonic pattern. Some of you may or may not be familiar with this pattern. Just very, very simple though. So the pattern is a pentatonic scale. We're playing a D, an F, a G, a C, and a D. And back to C, A, G, F, and D. traditional pattern of 5 notes: D, F, G, A, C, D. And notice there I'm audiating it, I'm singing it for myself. Again, don't worry if your singing voice doesn't work out the way you want it to. The idea is to have some kind of voice. So we're going to use this pattern, and I'm going to put on a short meditative drone track for us to just explore really listening. And if you want to, if you'd like to kind of improve the sensory kind of sensation of doing this, you could turn your overhead light on. So if you've got a bright light in your room, you could just turn that down a little bit. You can maybe close your eyes if you don't want to do that. But the idea is that we're going to be trying to tap in to our hearing and our feeling senses only. So no distraction. And I'm going to share a track, and you're going to hear just a nice stringy drone. And what I want you to do is I want you to play this pentatonic scale in any order you want, just tapping into your feeling of relaxation and of hearing and feeling. And let your sense of sight kind of wash away. Just imagine you were in the deep, darkest ocean and you can't see. And that's okay. We don't need to be able to see. So I'm going to share this track with you. Just give me one moment because I think I lost it when I lost my screen share. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to screw this and here. Can you let me know if you can hear this track? Can you hear it? Thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So in your own time, be sure to honor your body. So if you start to feel stressed or tense, it's totally fine to take a breath, take a break. I noticed somebody yawning, and that's awesome because that means you're relaxing. To get through. So that track, I'll send that to you guys after the workshop so that you can try that on your own. But let's keep going with our presentation. You can find tracks like that all over YouTube. There's so many beautiful meditative tracks. And if you're working on improving your tuning, one of the best things that you can do is to just play with a very simple drone and play notes and really hone in on that sense of feeling and hearing and taking away the visual distraction. We are so visually oriented, both in our working lives and in just our social lives in general. Like, we really, in order to tap into those more, what I say are the kind of older senses, hearing and feeling, we had those senses before we evolved to have really good sight. And those senses we need to tap into a little bit more intentionally. So that's how we do it. We turn off the lights and we play. So now that you've learned how to improve your pitch and sense of tuning by training your mind's ear, you can use this skill as the foundation for this next powerful method, which is going to help you to land shifts anywhere on your cello. So many cellists think that to improve shifting, you need to do endless drills of parts of the pieces that contain those shifts. And while there's always, unfortunately, there's no way to get around the fact that we do have to do some repetition here in our practice as musicians, just like playing scales over and over is not going to help you to play in tune. In fact, it can sometimes make it worse. Playing the parts of your pieces that have shifts over and over, or your whole piece, is not likely to result in more confident shifting. And that's really what we're looking for with shifting. The reason that shifting falls apart is because we're really not confident in how to do it really well. So perhaps more than any other element of cello playing, shifting requires an organized mind and body plan. We need to get organized in our mind so that we can make actions with our body. If you don't plan your shifts, they end up sounding sloppy and out of tune. And again, this is not your fault. We all do it. We all tend to just jump around the instrument and not really think about it, but we're going to do that today. In order to shift anywhere on your instrument, you need to understand the physics of what you're doing, like how your body is working, how that affects your body. So most cellists, and this is not your fault, but most cellists are using what I call the jump and pray method of shifting. So take a look here at this man. And as you can see, this man knows exactly what he's doing, because if he didn't, there would be a problem. So as the man below illustrates, jump and pray is a very unwise strategy. And yet, for most of us shifting, that is what we are doing. So how do we understand the physics of a shift so that we can be confident as we move around the fingerboard? So just like a person leaping over a large hole, we need to have a plan. We need to have a solid starting point for our shift. We need to have an accurate idea of how far the distance is. We need to have an exact idea of what the landing feels like. And for our musical shift, we need to know what it sounds like. And the most important key element that is often missing from shifts is that we need to stay calm and relaxed. Imagine that man jumping over that chasm with a tight body. Not a good idea. You need to be relaxed. Athletes are relaxed when they do these things. Nothing ruins a shift faster than panicking, getting tight, stressing out, and then it falls apart, right? So let's figure out how we're going to do this. So the absolute best way that you can develop this solid foundation of shifting is what I call the sticky slide. The sticky slide is your fallback for any time that you have a shifting problem or a shifting thing that you need to solve. You're going to revert to the sticky slide. It's step number one. So imagine if this man jumping over the hole had a nice solid piece of wood underneath his feet. He would no longer have to worry about how far he was going or stress about the landing. The only thing that he might have to worry about is how fast or slow he went as he was crossing the bridge. So that's one, if we have one thing to think about how fast we're going as opposed to all these things, right? So we want to have this solid foundation under our feet or under our fingers. And imagine that he not only had a solid piece of wood, but he had an exact starting line for his foot and an ending line so he could judge the exact distance that he was going to travel. All of a sudden, this leap into nowhere becomes a calm and logical traverse across the bridge. And that's what we want to feel when we're shifting. Like we know exactly how far it is, and then we're just calmly walking across the bridge. No big deal. Fast or slow, doesn't matter. So we have a nice solid piece of wood under our fingers. We have this fingerboard that supports us and that helps us figure out how far to go. But it's amazing to me how many cellists, and I'm just as guilty as you are for many years, of not using that fingerboard to help you do a shift. I see people leaping about the fingerboard with no idea where they're coming from or where they're going next. We're just kind of leaping around. And this is not a great strategy for landing your shift. You often people jump too quickly, they don't prepare, and they end up falling short or going too far with the shift. And let's just take a second in the chat. Let me know, let everybody else know if you're guilty of what I call kind of jump and pray shifting. That's something that you find yourself doing fairly often. It's like, I'm just going to kind of guess where I'm going right now. You might have a little bit of a sense, but you're just like, yeah, it's a thing that we all do. I've done it. But imagine, thank goodness we are not jumping chasms, because if cellists were jumping chasms, most of us would have perished by now, including myself. So I want you to think of every shift as like life and death. Now, I don't want you to stress yourself out about that. Hypothetical life and death. But there is a way to get from where you're going to where you are to where you're going. And this is how we're going to do it. So sticky slides means carefully defining the parameters of a shift using biofeedback. And biofeedback is the information that your brain and your body give you to help you nail it. You want to be tapping into your body, how it feels. You want to be tapping into your mind's ear, how it sounds. You want to eliminate distraction. And distraction means, what are the notes before the shift? What are the notes after? Eliminate that. Just the note that you're shifting from, the note that you're going to. This is all you need to work on a shift. In other words, you have to think before you jump. There's no way around it until you're an incredibly agile athlete who just goes with the flow. And you will find many of you have probably mastered certain types of shifts, and they're not a problem. It's the other ones, right? So you have to think before you jump. There's no way around this process. So the first step is to identify the note before the shift. And I don't just mean, oh yeah, that's D. You have to understand everything about the note. So the starting point, your starting point if you're a jumper jumping over a hole. Do not go on until you've answered these questions about the before shift note. So these are the questions you need to ask yourself about a before shift note. What is the name of this note? What string are you playing it on? What position is it in? So hopefully you're familiar with positions. If you're not, that's something that you should probably start to learn about. And what finger are you using to play this note? And you probably think, well, this is really pedantic, but trust me, if you ask yourself all these questions, you give yourself a really good chance of landing your shift. If you don't, less so. And very important, are you playing this note before the shift with good tone? So what I've discovered is that shifts often fall apart, not because of the note that you're shifting to, but because of the note that you're coming from, because we don't prepare and give that note the attention that it deserves. So you need to get yourself prepped before you shift. So this isn't a bow workshop, and we're not going to talk too much about bowing, but when you're doing shifting, bowing is really important. So we are going to go through a few different scenarios. You need to also ask yourself, what direction of bow are you using to play the shift? So is it, are you changing bows when you shift? Are you slurring? Is it an up bow? Is it a down bow? What's going on with the shift? You need to understand that information as well in order to really break this down for yourself and get your parameters. And if you're really struggling with the bow when you're practicing your shift, you might want to just take it out and practice your shift with pizzicato first. Because if this is a left-hand issue that you're having, and it's not always a left-hand issue, but if it is a left-hand issue, take out the bow so that you can focus on that left-hand issue. So once you've identified all those things about the note before the shift, you want to look at the note after after the shift, and you answer the exact same questions. What is the note? What finger am I playing? What position am I in? All of those questions need to be answered. What bow is it, right? Break it down, break it down. The next thing you need to know is what this interval sounds like. So that's using our mindful audiation step from method 1. You're not going to land a shift if you have no idea what it sounds like, right? So you need to audiate the shift. You need to sing it, hum it, tap it, get it really internalized, understand every aspect of it before you even touch your instrument. And I think if one of the things I can teach you today about playing the cello, it's actually a lot of playing the cello is what you do away from the instrument. That really matters. But I will show you what to do on your instrument as well. So if you think this is a lot of preparation for just 2 notes, think about what would happen to this man jumping over the hole if he didn't think about the position of his feet and the distance to be jumped before he leapt, right? So really think of this as like, this has to be precise. So there are many shifting scenarios, many different combinations, but I want to take a look at 6 of the most common. We're going to do this together so you can get your instruments out. I'll go through the slides and we're going to try them together on our cellos. So the first scenario that we're going to set up for ourselves is, oh, one second. Okay, we're going to be shifting from the note F on the D string to the note C on the same string. So F to C, it's a 5th. And, oh wait, let me go back one scenario. Sorry. F to C on the D string. And we're going to be using the same string, same finger, same bow. So there's 3 things in a shift. What string are you on? What finger are you using? What bow are you using? So I'm going to show you this shift. So we're going from F on your D string, and then you're going up to C with the same finger. So this is a same string, same finger, same bow, which means you start on the F and you slide up to the C. And sticky slide means you make your slide as slow as humanly possible so that you can hear and feel every single action. So let's try this with a down bow. First of all, we'll put our bow on the string on an F. Take a deep breath in, and then on the exhale, you're going to start sliding from the F to the C. Nice and slow. And then you're also going to go back. So when I learn a sticky slide, you give yourself biofeedback by learning the distance of the slide up and the distance of the slide down. You're going to get double for your money if you do it this way. So you go up, and you go down. And if possible, it's always a great idea when you're shifting up the cello to exhale and then inhale on the way back. So you would inhale, let it go. Use gravity. And back. So exhale with your shift. If you exhale with every shift, you're going to find it feels a lot easier. It's a lot less laborious than if you, often we actually hold our breath, right? We get anxious when we hold our breath. So make sure that you're breathing up and down your shift, if possible. So that one was what we call a same string, same finger, same bow. It's the easiest kind of shift because there's not a lot of complication. It gets a lot more complicated. Let's try this. Same string, same finger, different bow. So you're going to go from your F on a down bow, shifting up, and then you're going to change to an up bow on the C. Right? And there's a few different ways you can do this, but just for the sake of kind of making this easy, we'll shift mostly on a down bow, and then when you get close to the C, you're going to shift to the up bow. So it'll be down, inhale, change to the up. So sticky slide, change at the top. This can be done in various ways, but that's one way. And then going down, down bow, change at the bottom. Remembering to breathe deep, open your chest, bring up your chin. I can see a lot of this. Make sure your body is open. when you do this. You're going to feel a lot better about shifts if you can open up that upper chest. So that's what I call a same string, same finger, different bow shift. Notice how we have many different scenarios here, and we're only going to go through 6 of them. There's actually many, but we're going to go through kind of the 6 most common ones. Scenario 3, same string, same bow, different finger. This is where people start to get a little bit messed up, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to play the F. We're going to go to the C, but by the time we get to the C, we want to be putting 3rd finger on C instead of 2. So at some point, you have to put that 3rd finger on the string so that you'll be ready to play it. So we'll do the same bow. So you're sliding up with 2. Inhale, exhale, and then when you get close, you put your 3rd finger down. You can do this various ways. Some people like to shift, play the F, put the 3rd finger down right away, and shift on the 3rd finger. That's something to experiment with, is where in your sticky slide do you add that 3rd finger and transfer the weight. I can't tell you exactly where to do that because that is a matter of a musical interpretation question. How does it sound when you do that? But you do want to practice different variations of that so that you can have a good sense of when you have a shift, what technical things you're going to do to approach it, right? So we're going through like really specific ways to approach this shift. So scenario 4, same bow, same finger, different strings. So for the example here, if you're playing your F and you want to move to the F above it, but you want to put 2nd finger on both. So in this scenario, you would slide up the D string a little way, cross over to the A string, keep sliding up with the 2nd finger. And again, when you do that is going to depend on the music, but let's try going halfway up the D and then changing and going halfway up the A. So it'll sound like this. So we inhale, then exhale, then change to the F. Notice how that might feel weird, right? You know, going across strings adds some complications that we didn't have before. And then back. Breathing, keeping your chin up. Smiling. I love smiling when I'm trying to do difficult things on the cello because it sends a message to your brain that it's actually not difficult. So if you're trying to do something hard, one of the great things you can do is smile while you do it because the endorphins that are released are going to help you to feel more relaxed and feel better about it. So that's the same bow, same finger, different strings shift. The next type, and I didn't mention this, but before we do every single type of shift, we should be audiating. So you should be hearing it, singing it or humming it, and then trying to do it on your cello. Don't just do it out of nowhere. So same finger, different string, different bow. So those F to F, we're going to go up the string a little bit, and then we're going to change direction when we get to the A string. So it'll be 2, and then somewhere along the string you have to cross strings. And back. Notice and don't forget, we are doing sticky slides right now. So your left hand is in constant contact with your fingerboard. That's our bridge. We're not taking it off the string and then putting it back on. You are sliding with a heavy finger so you can hear for that biofeedback. So that same finger, different string, different bow. And the last one, the hardest one, different strings, different fingers, different bow. So everything changes, right? So if you're going from this F and then we want to play that F but with 3rd finger, you're going to slide a little bit down the D string, engage the 3rd finger, and slide the rest of it and change your bow. made there, but you need to, every shift that you do, you need to consider what your left hand is doing and map it out for yourself in this way. Otherwise, you're just kind of guessing, and you might be right like half the time, and then the rest of the time you're not gonna be right. So those are the six kind of basic scenarios. You can experiment with those yourself. If you approach shifting in this way, kind of thinking of it like little puzzles, it can be really fun. And you're gonna sticky slide all day, and you're just gonna start to play way more in tune. And your shifts, in particular, if you exhale when you shift down the string, you're gonna feel a lot more relaxed. If you smile, you're gonna feel more relaxed, and that's just gonna help you feel better with shifts overall. Now, of course, we'll just go through these. You're probably thinking, well, Mia, that is great, but I don't want all of my shifts to sound like a slip and slide. Right? There's many, many scenarios. If you're playing romantic classical music, then you might get away with sliding your shifts, mostly up the string. We don't slide so much coming back, right? But we don't all want to sound, if you guys have heard Julian Lloyd Webber, that's Andrew Lloyd Webber's brother, beautiful, wonderful cello player, that he tends to slide up the cello and slide down the cello, and that's his one sound. So everything he plays sort of sounds a little bit like a drunken sailor, up and down the cello, up and down. So we need to create nuance in that slide, right? We need to be able to play and not hear the slide. So how do we do that? So the reality is that whatever slide you do, whatever shift you do, the left hand is always sliding. And this is something where people get a little bit confused, because what tends to happen is if you want to stop the bow when you're doing a shift, your left hand will also want to come off the string. But what you need to do is separate the two so that the left hand is like a slide rule. It's always just gliding and sliding, and it's staying contacted, and it knows where it is. And then the right hand can stop and go as it needs to. But your foundation is the sticky slide. So if you're having trouble tuning a slide, and that's what we're talking about, how to tune and master those shifts or slides, you have the best chance of landing them if you try the sticky slide first, and then we can take the bow and do some other things with the bow. But that's for another workshop. how to shift and use different bows. We will do that next time. So you have no hope of landing these shifts if you don't first train your ear with audiation, and then train. What you're doing when we slide is training your left arm and hand, like you're giving yourself biofeedback, right? How far is this? How far is that chasm? So you know exactly where you're going. The sticky slide allows you to measure out every shift. It lets your body and mind's ear know the important feedback that they need to land them accurately. Don't jump around. Don't jump around. Once you've mastered the takeoff and landing of a slide, you can then focus on that nuanced bow stroke. So the process of sticky slides is part of a series of mindful methods that have helped a lot of my students to make faster progress than with traditional teachers and methods, and to feel more confident in their abilities. And this is a testimony from one of our students who said that she's learned more in 6 weeks than she had in 6 years with her other teachers, because she was ready to quit. But now her playing has come leaps and bounds, and she just loves working with me. So it's really nice to hear that kind of thing. This is the kind of thing that I've taught her to do, to be really mindful and careful. So I'm so excited to share more mind and body methods to improve your left hand technique. But first, we've been at this for an hour and a bit. So let's take a short break. Let's take a break. You can stretch, get some water, and we'll start again in 3 minutes, okay? Come back in 3 minutes. Okay, everybody. I know that was a short break, but I kind of want to keep going because we got some more cool stuff to learn. So I'll just give everybody 30 more seconds just so I can see some people coming back in. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, don't forget to stick around because I have that free guide that I want to share with you and some really cool bonuses. So now that I've shown you how to improve your intonation and shifting accuracy, I want to share with you one of my greatest discoveries that I've made as a cellist. And I am not being hyperbolic. This was amazing for me to learn. So, as a classically trained musician, I spent hours learning scales and studies in the hopes that these would help me to improve my fingerboard facility and tuning. And while I did make some technical progress, this kind of practice tended to bring tension and stress into my playing. So, who has had, just by a show of hands, who's had the experience of playing scales and arpeggios and just feeling frustrated, like they were adding more tension to your playing than you really wanted them to? That's a very common thing. Yeah, a lot of us feel that, just really kind of stressed out with that scale playing. So, oops, one second. Yeah, not only that, but I often felt uncertain about how the scales I was learning were related to the music that I was playing. It felt kind of tedious and kind of boring. As I've gotten older, I feel more comfortable with scales and I find them a little bit more fun now. But there's a way to learn them that isn't taught, generally speaking, in the classical world. So remember that I told you that in my third year of university, the tension in my playing and my lack of time to practice got so bad that my professor started to doubt my ability to finish my degree. And she canceled me not to return from my final year, was a real blow, as you can imagine, to a creative, sensitive person like myself. Around that same time, something miraculous happened that totally changed the way that I approached my cello life, and it really saved my career. So this discovery helped me to begin mapping out my fingerboard in such a way that within a few weeks I was moving around the fingerboard quickly, efficiently, and playing with much more musical and theoretical understanding than I ever thought was possible. I was able to learn music much more quickly and efficiently and play more in tune as I found this method. I learned this incredible method from jazz musicians. So I was a classical student, but I was invited by jazz musicians to jam with them. And the things that they taught me about music were just mind blowing. This is a really obvious thing to jazz musicians, but not to the classically trained. The snowball effect that this method had on my playing allowed me to go on to enjoy a career as a classical player and a successful improviser. With this method, I could easily transpose music into all 12 keys, and I began to move around my fingerboard and tackle difficult music at lightning speed. This system I learned was unlike any classical training I'd received, and yet it was so powerful I couldn't believe that no one had showed it to me before. In traditional classical lessons, cellists will often learn scales in kind of a random order. Like you'll learn D major, then you learn G major, you might learn C, you might learn F major, and you often learn them with fingerings that are different for all those keys. Very few of us are taught, excuse me, many few of us are taught the logical patterns around our fingerboard that help us to understand and be able to move around it quickly and freely. If you were a guitar player, you would be learning shapes, but we don't learn that as classical players. I've met classical players who play at a very high level who don't understand this simple system that's going to help you to understand virtually every piece of music that you play. It's allowed me to improvise, follow chord charts, and get my eyes off the sheet music, but also at the same time, it improves your ability to learn and read sheet music faster. So I call this method cello shapes. Other people call it different things, but I call it cello shapes. Once you understand the hand shapes on your fingerboard and the patterns, you no longer need to guess where you're going or what position you're going to play in. You're able to move from lower to upper positions with ease through different octaves, and you'll be able to play all kinds of improvisation-based music. You'll also be able to play more in tune and with greater endurance. Once you understand cello shapes, you're going to be able to play in any key without feeling stressed. And I can't imagine right now who feels comfortable playing in like D flat major, F sharp minor, right? When we hear those keys, we think, oh my gosh. But 6 or 7 sharps or flats, it's totally accessible when you have this system. So in order to understand cello shapes, it helps to have a tiny bit of music theory background, and it's good to understand a little bit about this special musical gem. And many of you will have seen this, especially if you are in one of my classes. This is the circle of fifths. I call this the practical theory Bible. If you are practicing your cello, you want to understand scales and arpeggios and chords, you need to have this circle of fifths somewhere like on your wall or on your music stand, or just memorize it because it is so powerful. It is going to really help you to understand music and get around your instrument. The circle of fifths is a visual representation of every key in our Western notation of music, and it's an incredibly practical tool for musicians and composers. It just boggles my mind that more teachers don't use it and teach people how to use it. Surprisingly, most classical trained musicians learn very little about this and how to improve it, how to use it to improve their playing. There's a million ways that we can use this circle, but we're going to start with a basic major chord pattern. So just think for a second, how many of you, let's put this in the chat, how many of you are comfortable playing an arpeggio, which is a chord, in all 12 keys? Like for example, if I asked you to play a D flat major arpeggio 3 octaves right now, could you do it and know what fingers to use? Now I know those who have been working with me have a little bit of an advantage. And Henry says, what is an arpeggio? Yes. Well, there you go. An arpeggio is a chord. So if you take the scale of C majors, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, the arpeggio of C major is the first note of the scale, which is C, the third note of the scale, which is E, and the fifth note of the scale, which is G. That's an arpeggio. If you can play arpeggios, you can get around your instrument with lightning speed. So let's figure out what we can do with cello shapes. So let's do this together. I promise it's not going to be hard. And you might even amaze yourself. And I found this beautiful graphic, simplicity is best. And I believe this is true when we're thinking about scales and arpeggios. If you can get yourself in the mind of using universal fingerings for all of your scales and arpeggios, you no longer have to have a scale book because you're not going to be guessing what fingers to use to play your scales. So here is a basic scale shape. I'm just going to get my cello and we're going to try it together. Sorry, an arpeggio shape. Cello shape 1, I call this the major chord shape. The fingering of your major chord shape. What's beautiful about the cello is that it's tuned in fifths and the circle of fifths is in fifths, so we have a real advantage already playing these notes. So we're going to play C. I want you all to find C on your G string with first finger. If you're not quite sure where that is, you can play your open C and match it. So that's C. In order to play a C major chord, starting right there, we're going to play C with our first finger. We're going to extend with our fourth finger, so stretch, play E, and then G across from C with your first finger. So the finger pattern is 1, extension 4, 1. What's really cool about this pattern is that this is the finger pattern for every single major chord. It doesn't matter what note you start on. So let's take D flat, for example. So D flat at the bottom of your C string, also known as C sharp. If I play D flat with 1, extend to 4, and over to 1, I've now played a D flat major chord. If I put my first finger on E flat, so find the note E flat on your C string and play it with 1, extension 4, 1. That is also a major chord. 1, 4, 1. That is true anywhere in the lower positions of your cello up to the fourth position. If you're going higher, so below the neck on the higher parts of the cello, the fingering becomes 1, 3, 1. But it's essentially the same. So if I was, let's say, playing C on the D string, you find that C, put first finger on it, extend to third finger, and across to 1, that's a C major chord. 1, 3, 1. So you can see, since music is made up of chords and chord patterns, almost primarily chords and scales, having this universal fingering, when you see these chords in your music and you start to learn what they look like, you have built-in finger patterns. And you're going to find that with these built-in finger patterns, it solves a lot of your fingering questions and solves a lot of your tuning questions. Because you can go around your circle of fifths, learn all of your major minor arpeggios with their chord shapes, and then be able to play them anywhere on your instrument when you see them. It's a super powerful tool. I wish that I had learned it. I did not learn it until like my third year of university. I feel like my teachers did me a real disservice by not teaching me these patterns, because they've really come in handy. I can now play any scale or arpeggio and I'm not scared at all. We don't have time today to go through all of the shapes, but I just wanted to show you the power of a shape, because once you start finding these shapes and thinking about them, your facility on your instrument is just going to be astronomically better than it is now. So you can move around the circle. We're not going to do that right now because we have not too much time today, but you can on your own take your circle of fifths. Try moving around the circle of fifths, playing every major arpeggio. All you need to do is find that first note of the arpeggio, extend with 4, and then go across with 1. 1, 4, 1. You can do it in any octave you want. If you want to play a minor arpeggio, you just don't extend. 1, 4, 1 without the extension is your minor arpeggio. So every key is accessible to you. All 12 major keys, all 12 minor keys. No longer are we stressed about playing in those hard to play keys. The powerful thing about cello shapes is once you learn the basic patterns, you're going to start recognizing them in your sheet music everywhere. You're going to be able to really use finger patterns and know exactly what to do to play these notes that you're kind of guessing at right now. And you won't have to worry about positions because you're going to be able to visualize your fingerboard like a guitar player sees the frets on a guitar. If you play guitar, I'm actually going to show you because I do play guitar. For example, for the guitarists amongst us, or for those who are curious, here's a guitar with the frets. We have invisible frets. A guitar player can play a shape, right? A shape, and then just move it up and down the fingerboard. And when you move that shape up and down, it's always the same chord but a different key by half steps. And we can do that exact same thing on the cello by taking our shape and moving it all around the instrument. It's a very powerful tool. It's going to help you to learn your fingerboard so much better than you do now. So armed with this knowledge, you can start to tackle music in all kinds of keys with so much more confidence and understand where you're going in a logical way. Again, just like with our shifting, where we're trying to come up with a logical way to do your shift, this is a logical way to get around your fingerboard. And you're also going to play more in tune because you're going to understand the exact shape to use when you're playing a major third versus a minor third and a fifth. To get the most out of cello shapes, I encourage you to experiment with your own. One really fun way to use cello shapes is to take like a really short tune that you know really well, something short and cute, and find a fingering that you can play that tune in all 12 keys. So you're going to use the same finger pattern in all 12 keys to play a little tune. That can make it a little bit more interesting than just playing your scales or playing your arpeggios, is to take a piece of music and see if you can transpose it into 12 keys. Jazz musicians do this all the time. I think it's a lost art and a lost skill for most classical musicians, but one that you should develop. So what's next? Now that I've shown you these 3 powerful methods to improve your left hand mastery, if you combine all of these into one, you're going to revolutionize the way that you practice and you're going to feel so much more confident. So I want you to stick around for the next part of this workshop because we're going to go over what we've learned and there's going to be time for a Q&A, so you can ask me questions. I know we've gone through a lot of information and I want to share with you some of the bonus gems that we have for attending today. So let's quickly review what we've learned. In method 1, how to improve intonation, sense of pitch so that you always feel confident you are playing the right notes, we learned that audiation is the best way to do this. It's the process of hearing and feeling what you're going to play before you play it. The steps to audiation is to listen to short segments of the music that you're going to play. Most of us do not listen enough. Hum, sing, or play on a keyboard or tap on your body to get this into your mind's ear, and eliminate visual distraction as much as possible. Turn the lights off, whatever you need to do to just hear and feel. And another way to train your mind's ear is to improvise using a drone track to give your ear a foundation for better tuning using simple patterns like a pentatonic scale. Method number 2, how to shift effortlessly on the cello. We learned that you need to identify the notes on either end of a shift. Use your audiation tool to hear how they will sound. Slowly slide from one note to the next with mindful awareness of pitch, bowing direction, and slide up and down to give your mind and your body the feedback that it needs to associate that with the shift. Important things to remember about sticky slides: you do not want to leap around your fingerboard. Never, never leap around your fingerboard. I see Alex shaking her head because I know that was a epiphany for Alex just recently, was the not leaping. If you're a piano player, you're used to leaping, right? As string players, we do not leap, we slide. Stay connected. And there's different kinds of scenarios that you want to identify and explore. All shifts are not the same. Take apart the elements of your shift, figure out what's going on exactly so that you can really master it. Method number 2, we learned how to understand the fingerboard so we never have to guess again where we're going, ever. And we use cello shapes to do that. So use universal cello shapes, hand patterns, to play patterns in all 12 keys around the cello, making scales, arpeggios, and other fun patterns. It doesn't have to be scales and arpeggios. It can be anything. You can just take a tune that you like and see if you can transpose it into 12 keys. And use the circle of fifths as your guide. If you don't have a solid understanding of the circle of fifths, now is the time to start kind of diving into that theory a little bit. It's going to help you so much as a cello player. And why should you learn these cello shapes? So that you can make quick and confident decisions regarding fingering, position changes, and have a full understanding of practical cello theory. That's what I call it, theory that's attached to your instrument, not just like scales out of nowhere, so that you can make informed, easy decisions while you move around. So now that I've shown you these 3 powerful methods to improve left hand mastery, I'm confident that you can use these tools right away. I'm sure you have some things that you can do in your next practice. So I want to ask you a question, and the question is, and let's chat in the chat, let me know, are you enjoying the workshop so far? If you are, can you put in the chat what you've enjoyed most or found most valuable about our time together so far? I'll just give you a minute to do that. Yeah, I see some great questions. If you have questions, we're going to get to them in the Q&A. Chord shapes, yes. Yes, cello shapes are really awesome. Audiation and turning out the lights, for sure. Some really cool tools that you can use. Yeah, shapes are awesome. I love shapes. The most fun ever. And have you come up with some exciting ideas that you can implement into your next cello practice? If you have an idea, you can go ahead and put that in the chat. It'll be great for each of us to have one idea of something you can do in your next practice that you gain from this workshop, so that we can see each other's ideas and then kind of get an idea of what we want to do. Yeah, instructions on applying the sticky slide. Yes, that's a good one for sure. Is it fair to say that using this method, these powerful methods, are going to get you to your cello goals faster than if you had not attended the workshop today? If yes, go ahead and put yes in the chat. I have the confidence that if you took these tools we've learned today and you applied them to your next session, you're going to hear and feel changes pretty quickly. Yes, great, thank you. And if doing this on your own was your only option, that would be a worthy pursuit. But I have an option for you that allows me to serve you at the highest level and reach your goals faster. And if you'd like to hear about it, I can tell you about that. So if you'd like to hear about what we could do together, let me know in the chat, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what our program looks like and what we might do together. Practicing the leaps oh yes, yes, those leaps are crazy. Let me know if you'd like to hear a little bit more about what we can do together to kind of get into the details of some of the things that we've learned today. So I want to introduce you all to the Cello Yoga Mastermind and Ensemble for Adult Cellists. Many of you here today are already in this program. So if you are in this program, you can just tune out for a minute, but we're going to have a Q&A. So stick around because we're going to ask some questions. This program, I'm just going to talk about it for a minute or two. This is a 1-year membership program with a summer fling option. For those of you who might be a little bit commitment phobic, I have this summer fling option for our program. So let me tell you about this program. Thank you, Pam. Thank you. This program is based on the concept that I believe cello players need community to be most successful. The times when I made the most amount of progress as a cellist was when I had other cellists and my own peers to work with and to mastermind with and to really get to the heart of what I was doing. For motivation, inspiration, and technical ability, this is just true. So we need that community. If the concepts I have shown you today, these really only scratch the surface. We got into so many details, but these just scratch the surface of some of these mind and body methods that you can discover to improve your cello playing. So let's talk about who I designed cello yoga for, because I designed this with a very specific type of cello player in mind. We designed cello yoga for people who want to feel, cellists who want to feel motivated, inspired, and supported by a fun and motivating community. We made this for people who want to discover research-based ways, so not just random ways, but research-based ways, mind and body methods to practice more efficiently, and also ways to create and expand your creative horizons far beyond your current level. We also designed cello yoga for cellists who are ready to invest in themselves and your passion. So I can tell already that there's a lot of cellists here who are putting a lot of time and effort into your cello playing. And that is amazing. And I want those cello players to have the best experience with the most supportive community possible. In cello yoga, we have expert advice on a continuous basis. It's for cellists who want to have more fun and joy. And some of the members, so if you're a member already of cello yoga, perhaps you can put in the chat what is one thing that you're already enjoying or one thing that you've learned in cello yoga that you didn't know before you joined. I think it would be helpful for some people who haven't experienced our program to hear a little bit from our members what they're enjoying. This is not for people who want to practice alone. So if you're work shedding alone in a room, and it's not for people who don't like other people. It's not for people who aren't open to new perspectives, and it's not for people who aren't ready to commit a little bit of time. It's not a ton of time, but you need to be able to commit a little bit of time. So that you can have a better idea of what this program looks like, let me give you a brief overview of what a typical cello yoga session looks like. And hint, it's a lot of fun. So each cello yoga session includes a mind and body fundamental section. So members learn mindsets, physical tools to help and avoid practice frustration, bodily tension that can hold you back. These tools will help you to maintain balance, flexibility, and develop rock-solid confidence. And they are specifically designed to be gentle and appropriate for all ages. So you might see that yoga thing and think, oh my gosh, I can't do yoga. We're not doing downward dogs, right? We do age-appropriate, body-appropriate things that are going to help us play the cello better. We also do technical development. So each session, we explore the most effective ways to produce beautiful sound by exploring the necessary components of right and left-hand mastery. And cellists work towards relaxed control over their instruments, no matter where you are in your cello journey. So I always say that cello yoga is for every cellist. If you're an absolute beginner, it may not be for you, but if you've been playing the cello for 1 year or more, this program can really benefit you. We have cellists who have played for 2 years. We've had cellists that have played for 20 years or even 30 or 40 years. It doesn't matter what level you're at because we're all working together at our different levels. And we work on improvisation and creativity. Cello yogis, as I call you guys, develop pattern awareness and use fun, relevant music theory to enhance your experience of playing in a variety of styles and genres. Cellists get to explore their creative voices, and in turn, this helps to improve every aspect of your playing. This helps you by being more creative. You also become more technically aware and technically proficient. And we also work on individual performance skills. So our members have opportunities to perform for each other, get expert help with their personal cello projects. And this is just one of the customized components of the program that allows each cellist to get feedback and individual attention as they need it. And all our cellists benefit from observing each other and participating in this group teamwork, just like you would if you were in a master class, just like when I was in university, when I saw all these people playing and getting feedback from masters. It's a really powerful experience. And we also do ensemble and recording projects. So cello yogis work together as a team to learn and record multi-level cello ensemble music in a variety of genres. So we do all kinds of stuff. This picture here is from when we did Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. Really fun song. Through these group experiences, cellists develop ensemble skills and have opportunities to improve music reading and rhythm skills, and also technical skills. As some of our cello yogis will tell you, we'll also learn how to record, which is a really cool thing. It's not as hard as you think. And that's not all. We also have guest expert workshops. We explore the world of cello playing in different genres through expert-led classes and workshops with some of the world's best teaching artists. And that's so that you can discover all the wonders of playing cello in different genres, from blues to Celtic to classical to gypsy swing. We kind of do it all. We do a little bit of everything. So if you're ready to skyrocket your cello progress and you're not already a cello yogi and get the results that you've been looking for, I've put aside some time in the next few days to talk to each of you one-on-one and to see if I can help you reach your goals. So if you'd like to book a call with me and talk about your cello journey, you can do that at cellogo.com. What we'll do on this call, so I call this a strategy session. So we're going to talk for about 45 minutes. You can bring your cello and we'll map out an exact action plan for you to follow so that you'll feel more confident, more motivated. You're going to be able to play with amazing sound and the skills that you've been looking for. And we're also going to figure out which program would be best for you, because people are on different budgets, they have different time commitments. So we're going to figure out if our yearly membership or the summer fling program is best for you, or if you might need to do a little bit of private sessions with me. I also do some private sessions. Those are usually best for people who are just starting out with the cello to get that foundation that you need to see which of these programs would work best for you. On the booking page at cellogo.com, you're going to find a calendar page. If you have any trouble booking a call, you can email me. My email is mea, M-E-A, at celloyoga.ca. On the call, we'll explore a few things. We'll explore if we can actually help you get the results that you're looking for. We're going to explore what your actual problems are that you're experiencing in your cello playing and help you fix them. And we're going to explore, this is a very important thing, are we a good fit for each other? We like to work, and I say we because we now have quite a big team, we like to work with people who have a really positive mindset, who understand the value of working with other people in a mastermind format to achieve your goals. And once we do all that, we can show you what the cello yoga would look like for you specifically, whether you're going to join our VIP year program, summer fling, private sessions. So now I know what you might be thinking, and you're thinking this is going to cost some money. And yes, there is an investment to join our program, but I think you're going to find that the value far exceeds the investment. The great news is that when we were considering this investment, we took a look at other programs sort of like this, and honestly, I couldn't find a program quite like ours, and I asked myself, how can we offer a premium immersive cello program that gets those top level results, but for the same cost as one private lesson a week? So if you were coming to me for private lessons, I wanted to offer all the things that I would offer in a private lesson, but way more for that same price, right? So keeping it to one private lesson a week. We also asked how we could do that and offer 10 times the value. And I think that we've done it. I think that some of our members will tell you that we've done a really good job of kind of covering all those bases. You've probably seen college or online programs out there that cost $15K a year. Kind of crazy. Our program's nowhere near that. It's not even close to 10K. And our summer fling program is our most budget-friendly option. It's under $1,000. So if you're not sure about this big commitment, you're not quite sure about me, I really recommend that you book a call. We can talk about it because this is a really budget-friendly option, and we have payment plans for that option. And it also includes some free private coaching as well. If you're doing the Summer Fling program, you're going to get 4 private coachings with me, totally free. So when you book your strategy call, we're going to talk specifics about the cost for you, but you can expect to be pleasantly surprised by how much value we offer and that financial flexibility as well. Cello yoga is all about mastering your skills in a way that's optimum for your adult mind and body. It's about connecting with other dedicated amateurs in a supportive and non-competitive community. That's really important to us. We are not competing with each other. And it's about getting those consistent and effective practice routines in place so you can really feel good about yourself as a cellist. It's also about sparking motivation and passion for your instrument, overcoming fears to become a more confident performer, and exploring all the best resources to work through your technical challenges, learning improvisation, which is so exciting for many of our members who had never improvised before and are playing beautifully with their own unique musical voice. And these are just some of the cellists who have already seen results from the program. You can join us by going to cellogo.com and booking a call with me. These are people, and I'm so proud of the cello yogis that are here today. I'm so proud of all of you because you didn't let your old habits kind of bring you down. You took a chance on something that was kind of new and kind of out there, and you didn't know what was going to happen. And I'm so proud of all of you who are in my group. You really make it an exciting time for me. I love working with all of you. So you might be tempted to wait until later to book a call, but here's why you shouldn't. Couple of reasons. One is that my schedule can only handle so many calls, so you need to book now to make sure you get a spot. And if you're interested in our summer program, it starts next week. So I need to talk to you before next week so that you can get in and join our program. And on top of that, our program has a participant limit because I try to keep this VIP so we can't have a huge amount of people. So our summer fling program is almost totally booked. So if you want to join us, I encourage you to book a call with me. And I also have a special offer. So remember I said that I had some special offers for you. So if you want to join the summer fling program, if you are in this workshop today, you're going to get 30% off our summer fling program cost. So it's really, I think, worth the cost of membership. And if you book today, I'm also going to throw in a free cello yoga mastermind and ensemble class pass. You can come and visit our amazing group of cellists and just kind of experience the fun for yourself. So I really encourage you, go to cellogo.com to book your free strategy call, claim your free class pass, and please email me if you have any questions or concerns at mia@celloyoga.ca. And here is your thank you present, your gift for sticking around. You don't have to go run away to this link right now. I'm going to send everybody who's in the workshop today, I'll send you this link in your email. This is your free guide. It's at cellogo.com/free gift, but you don't have to go there right now. And finally, we are at the question and answer stage. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I would like to answer any questions about all of the amazing things that we did today. So if you have a question, can you please write Q in the chat so I know who is going first? And then we can get to some questions that way and keep it nice and organized. So does anyone have a question or thought or concern or just general comment? Go ahead and put Q in the chat. Q, okay, so Henry. So Henry, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, Henry, so that you can ask your question. There you are, Henry. Asked to unmute. Hey, Henry, do you have a question?
Hi, yes, thank you.
Hey.
This session is like really awesome.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. And yeah, thanks for answering my question about the arpeggio. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You know, lots of people are at different levels of learning about those things. Arpeggio is Italian for broken chord, is what it means. It's a chord, but broken up.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you talked about like C majors earlier. Is it after like C major, like C like lieutenant or?
Yeah, so let me just quickly show you. So we were looking at that circle of fifths. I'm just going to grab it. Just a really quick, this is like Western music theory, like in 1 minute. So all of the notes we play in Western music exist on this chart, right? So once you learn, you know, your shapes for C major, you can go around your circle and play every key with the same fingering. And then inside this circle, there's the minor keys. You can't see them on this circle. What I recommend, if you're really interested in this circle of fifths, honestly, go to Wikipedia and just Wikipedia the heck out of it. There's so much really interesting information about the circle of fifths. You can take a real nice deep dive there and really get to understand. I mean, music theory, you can keep going forever. I use this as a practical tool to help cellists get around their instrument. So yeah. Does that help, Henry?
Yeah, yeah. So going like reading it like clockwise, that
Yeah,
scroll you had. I see
yeah.
like I think after C is that G?
That's right. Yeah. C and then G and then D and then A. Exactly. And it
Oh,
goes
is
around
that
in
like
fifths, right? Like the strings of your instrument. C, G, D, A.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So if that's like C major, then
Yeah.
would the G
G
be like the
major.
third
Yeah.
G major? Would it also be
Exactly.
like C lieutenant or
No, no, just major. No, no, it does. Yeah, no, we don't use those terms. It's not like the army. Major
oh
just means a sound. It's like a happy sound. Yeah, that's what
oh
that is.
okay okay
Yeah, yeah. It sort of more means like the sound of the chord.
oh
Yeah,
okay yeah. 'Cause
yeah.
my teacher was mentioning lieutenant chords,
Oh,
and
weird.
I
Yeah,
thought
I've
that
never heard that. I've never heard that before.
yeah I thought that was what she was talking
Yeah.
about. So
No, I don't think so. So
okay.
yeah, let's go on. I think is there anybody else who has a question? Go ahead and put Q in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself if you like. I don't think we have like a lot of questions. Clearly, I was such a brilliant teacher that nobody needs to ask any questions. Or maybe you all just want to go have a drink. I think that's what I'm going to do later now that I did this. We're okay. Okay, any other cue? No, that was the only cue. Okay, wonderful. Well, if anyone does find that they have a question. Oh, Miriam, did you have a question?
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to know, seeing as how we are our own best teacher,
Yes, you are.
how one
Always.
goes about evaluating your level and what holes you
Mm.
are missing.
Yes, that's a
Teacher.
great question, Miriam. So the idea of being your own best teacher doesn't necessarily mean that you don't listen to the advice of guides or get feedback from experts, right?
Correct.
The like you can still get the feedback of an expert, get the feedback of a professional, but the sort of philosophy there is that at the end of the day you want to be in touch with how you feel and what's making you happy, and don't allow. So often what's happened in my own classical music journey, or music journey in general, is that I allowed teachers to kind of impose their will on me, which is, often what happens when you know nothing, right? You'll just do what they say. But
Right.
at some point you then find yourself feeling a little bit unhappy. Like, for example, like I was classically trained, but it took me a long time to realize that classical music wasn't necessarily where my passion lay, and I wanted to write my own music, right? I wanted to be a songwriter. And it
Mm-hmm.
took me a long time to kind of shed this idea, because when I was in university, I did a recital. I had a recital where I actually played my own music, and the people who were judging it, I guess, didn't like it because it wasn't classical, and they gave me some really harsh criticism. And so that really like set me back in the sense of feeling confident. So when I say you're your own best teacher, what I mean is that you should never be scared or afraid to say to a teacher, or to say to yourself, I want to play this music. I don't want to play this music. Or I want to do this shift this way. I don't want to do it this way. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And you can have a nice, healthy dialogue. If you have a good teacher, you can have a nice, healthy dialogue about that. Just be aware that there's people that will want to tell you what to do. And I hope that, having worked with me, that you realize that I'm not that kind of teacher.
I do know that, but I'm looking at
Yeah.
music and I'm going, there must be a skill right in here someplace that I'm
Of
missing
course,
and I
yes,
don't know what it is.
yes, and so that would be a perfect example of when you feel like there's something missing. That is your cue to go and ask somebody who you think might know. And there's absolutely nothing wrong doing that. That is, in fact, the skill of being your own best teacher, because I don't know what I'm doing, right? So I need to go ask someone
Right.
else. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a balance to be had. There. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, I think it's exactly true, Miriam, that you're in touch with your feelings about that. Because if you are feeling like there's something missing, believe that, right? And then you can ask someone and they
Okay.
can help you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. So are we all happy? Any other questions? I know it's getting kind of late. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I thank you all so much for coming. I had a wonderful time. I hope that I get to talk to some of you on the phone and have a video chat, or on the internet, have a video chat. And I will see the rest of you cello yogis at our next session. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mia.
Bye.